Hello and welcome to an Inspector Calls Finish in 5, and this is a video for Extract 2. Now, as previously, the idea is that by working through a series of around 5 or so extracts from the text, you'll get a sense of the whole text in terms of its structure and what happens. And during each video, we're going to cover what happens before the extract, why the extract matters, and what happens afterwards. Now, this is the second extract, so if you haven't already looked at Extract 1, it's worth going back and just recapping that. So in terms of what's happened so far before this extract, well, following the arrival of the inspector, the family were informed that a young woman had died having deliberately drunk disinfectant, a woman called Eva Smith, and that the inspector was there to find out more about it. Now, Burling was the first of the family to be interviewed, and he admitted that the woman had worked in his factory, that he had fired her after she had helped to lead the workers on strike asking for more pay. Now, Burling refused to accept any blame or that he had in any way been responsible for the girl's death. The inspector then told the family that after being sacked from Burling's factory, this girl, Eva Smith, had managed to find a job in a clothes shop, Millwards. Sheila, the Burling's daughter, looks at the photograph, sobs, and runs out of the room. Now, there's a brief moment during which the inspector refuses to show Gerald the photograph, yet, at least, and then Sheila returns to face up to what she did. And that's the moment that this extract today is taken from. Now, in terms of what happens in this extract, now just like Burling before her, Sheila is made to confess what she did. She has to admit it. So we learn about how Sheila came across Eva Smith, and also what Sheila did to cause Eva to lose her job at the clothes shop. Now, during this section of the text, notice Sheila's open admission of what she did. It's also worth listening out for what it is that gives Sheila power, and why it is that she decided to victimise Eva. Listen out also for Gerald's reaction to the revelations, and the moment of tension that it prompts. Well, I went to the manager at Millwards and I told him that if they didn't get rid of the girl, I'd never go near the place again, and I persuaded Mother to close our account with them. Right, and why did you do that? Well, because I was in a furious temper. And what had this girl done to make you lose your temper? Well, when I was looking at myself in the mirror, I caught sight of her smiling at the assistant, and I was furious with her. I'd been in a bad temper anyhow. And was it the girl's fault? Well, no, not really. It was my own fault. All right, Gerald, you needn't look at me like that. At least I'm trying to tell the truth. I expect you've done things you're ashamed of too. Well, I never said I hadn't. I don't see why. Never mind about that. You can settle that afterwards between you. Right, what happened? Well, I got in to try something on. It was an idea of my own. Mother had been against it, and so had the assistant, but I'd insisted. As soon as I tried it on, I knew they'd been right. It just didn't suit me at all. It looked silly in the thing. Well, this girl had brought the dress up from the workroom, and then the assistant, Miss Francis, had asked her something about it. This girl, to show us what she meant, she had held the dress up as if she was wearing it, and it just suited her. She was the right type for it, just as I was the wrong type. She was very pretty, too, with big dark eyes. That didn't make it any better. Well, when I tried the thing on and looked at it myself and knew that it was wrong, I caught sight of this girl smiling at Miss Francis, as if to say, "Doesn't she look awful?" And I was absolutely furious. I was very rude to both of them, and then I went to the manager and told him that this girl had been very impertinent, and well, how could I know what would happen afterwards? If she'd been some miserable, plain little creature, I don't suppose that I'd done it, but she was very pretty and looked as if she could take care of herself. I couldn't be sorry for her. In fact, in a kind of way, you might be said to have been jealous of her. Yes, I suppose so. And so you used the power that you had as the daughter of a good customer, and also of a man well known in the town, to punish the girl just because she made you feel like that. Well, yes, but it didn't seem to be anything very terrible at the time, don't you understand? And if I could help her now, I would. Yes, but you can't. It's too late. She's dead. It's clear that Sheila knows she did something wrong. She's described as distressed, but it's also clear that she's admitting blame here. Sheila was in a furious temper, and she admits that it was her own fault. Notice that Eva is essentially punished for Sheila's own bad temper. Sheila's someone who lashes out, who hasn't learned to think about the consequences, or to consider the outcome of her actions for other people. She's childish and she's selfish, something she's clearly learned from her father. It's noticeable that Gerald is seeing a different side to Sheila, and that's part of what the inspector's doing here. He's forcing the Burlings and Gerald to publicly confess what they've done and confront the reality of who they each are. Notice also the hint about Gerald and his own actions, as well as also the inspector's interruption and sense of urgency in terms of time. Interruptions, don't forget, are about power. The more powerful the character, the more likely they are to interrupt people. Now Sheila, it's clear from her speech, victimised Eva because of Eva's attractiveness, as she admits herself that she wouldn't have been so cruel to her if Eva had looked different. It's Sheila's own vanity and insecurity that's the problem, it's not Eva's behaviour. There's also a pattern throughout the play of characters judging Eva based on her physical attractiveness. Burling comments on it, and so also do Sheila, Gerald and Eric. Notice also Sheila breaking down emotionally. The fragmented sentences, the rhetorical questions, the repetition and the pauses. Again, it's a pattern in the play when characters are distressed. It's also worth noting where Sheila's power comes from, and the inspector notes it clearly. Sheila's power comes entirely from her father, and it's clear that she's not used to thinking about the impact of her actions, the consequences of her selfishness. Sheila wields power that she hasn't earned, and that she doesn't understand or respect. So in terms of what comes next, well, Sheila has felt guilty about what she did, and it's clear that, having confessed her misdeeds, she wouldn't make the same mistake again. The problem is that Eva Smith at this point, Eva, remember, as a name to represent all women, and Smith as a surname to represent the working class, has been sacked twice without deserving it. And so she changes her name to Daisy Renton and pursues a different path. Now, the moment Gerald hears the name Daisy Renton, he gives himself away only too clearly. Sheila picks up on it. And when Gerald begs her to keep it to herself, she tells Gerald what she's realised, that the inspector already knows everything. Sheila has learned from her experience, and the curtain falls then on Act 1. In the remainder of the play, Sheila appears the character who's made the most progress from an audience point of view. She's confessed, she feels shame, she's learned, and she tries to help the others in the play to learn as well. Towards the end of the play, she even repeats the inspector's phrasing and takes more of an authoritative role. And just a quick one, don't forget, of course, all those extra resources that are out there. There's a recipe book with all the ingredients there. There are the quotation cards that are available as well. There's the absolutely fantastic Net YouTube channel, Net English 1 on YouTube, with hundreds of videos covering everything you could possibly want. There's the @NET English Twitter feed, which has daily quotations on from all the text that we do. There's a text guide and podcasts available through academy websites or from your teachers. All right, so loads of things out there to help. Don't forget also, there are a series of more of these for the next series of extracts, and of course, there's the one on Extract 1 as well, if you want to go back to that. Right, thank you for listening, and we will see you in the little video for Extract 3.